Okay, this is probably as close as I'm going to get to madness today. There was a post on TSN today, and I thought, it's picking and choosing. Goaltending is really difficult. It is. Goaltending is really difficult to figure out. If it was easy, you wouldn't see teams cycling through goalies all the time. But we see a number of teams that do that. And then the smart team is the one that lucks into getting a really good goaltender or trades for a really good goaltender and doesn't let that goaltender go. Now, the article that I read today was from Travis Yost. Now, Travis Yost does work with TSN, and he analyzes contracts, he analyzes value that players bring to a team, and very often I find him insightful. On this one, I think the issue is sample size. So his argument is this, that and the article was teams still don't know how to pay goaltenders. The NHL hasn't figured out how to pay goaltenders, something along that line. And I disagree. The difference between goaltenders and forwards and defensemen for me is you're paying a goaltender based on his body of work more than you are with a forward or a defenseman. You can have one really, really good season and cash in any role, but it's much easier if you're a forward or a defenseman. Look at Carter Hutton. Carter Hutton had a fantastic season. If he's a forward or a defenseman, he's getting paid huge money. He gets paid a little less because we look at his age. We look at the fact he was a backup for half that season. We go, So the deal he gets is good, sure. But is it as good as it would have been if he was a forward or defenseman? I would argue not. Now, what I've got on the board here is the top 21 goaltenders for average save percentage throughout their careers. The minimum to get on this chart with quant hockey is 200. You had to play 200 games, which I think is fair. Now, if they're underneath this line, it means either they hadn't played 200 games or they didn't measure up and didn't hit the top 21 goaltenders for save percentage. Tuukka Rask. The column on the left is their age. He's 31 years of age. His career goals against, or career save percentage is .922. I don't use goals against because that's really a team stat. Save percentage can kind of be argued a team stat, but not over an entire career unless you played for a really bad team your entire career. 470 games played by Tuukka Rask. He makes $7 million a year. That seems to be fair. He's 31. He's probably got 5 or 6 more years left. That seems like a decent hit for him. Corey Schneider, 32 years of age. That's right, he's older than Tuukka. .920 save percentage, 370 games played, $6 million. That makes sense. I could argue that right now Schneider's probably the better goaltender, but the problem with that is that he had a really rough go at the end of the season. Now there's some talk about whether or not he's even going to start the season with New Jersey or if he's going to need to sit out for a little bit after dealing with surgery in the offseason. So we'll see. Sergei Bobrovsky, next up here, also at .920, 29 years of age, 395 games played, $7.42 million in salary. Bobrovsky is a solid, fantastic goaltender. Now, we could talk about playoff stats and say, well, they should get paid for their playoff stats, which is why Fleury's on this board, but and also because of his cap hit being relatively high. But when you look at it, on the surface of it, I don't think that NHL teams are having such a hard time figuring out goaltenders. Bobrovsky, great stats, over 395 games, he gets paid like it. Roberto Luongo, a .920 save percentage in 1,001 games. And yet I still argue with people when they say, well, Luongo's not that good, or he's been with stacked teams. Really? He's played with the Islanders, Florida, and Vancouver, and he's been with stacked teams? $5.33 million, and of course, that's a deal that was meant to circumvent the cap, and that's why the cap hit is so low. It probably would have been about $8 million a year, but it would have already expired had he got that $8 million a year. Braden Holtby, .919 save percentage, 361 games played, $6.1 million. The kicker for Holtby, Stanley Cup, and 28 years of age. He's 11 years younger than Roberto Luongo. If you want to find a goaltender who can threaten Marty Brodeurs' records, it is Braden Holtby. And he's the only one that could eventually threaten those records. And I don't mean he's going to pass them. I just mean that at some point we might say, hey, maybe he's going to, Henrik Lundqvist, 36 years of age, 919 save percentage, 805 games played, 8.5 million. Again, I don't see anybody who's vastly overpaid. Now, you could argue that Lundqvist right now, that's a little much for his age, and he's 36 years of age, but at the time he signed that contract, it was a very reasonable signing. So I don't see this problem that NHL teams are having that apparently they're having. And we'll get to where I take issue with it. Corey Crawford, 919 save percentage, 409 games played, $6 million per year. That's reasonable. I think at the time that Crawford signed that deal, there was a perception his numbers were good because he was in Chicago, so playing for a good team meant his numbers were really good. And he also signed for a little bit lower than he probably could have got on the free market because he wanted Chicago to be able to ice a team that could compete for a Stanley Cup every year. No problem. Pekka Rinne, 35 years of age, 919 save percentage, 567 games played, $7 million. Again, I don't have a problem with Rinne being paid that amount. We have yet to hit upon a goaltender that we look at their cap hit and go, this is crazy. Right? Ben Bishop, 31 years of age, 919 save percentage through 323 games, $4.91 million. I'm on the fence about Bishop as the starter for Dallas, but his career numbers are solid, and he gets paid less on the cap than other goaltenders. So Dallas could look like they're geniuses this coming year. I'm just trying to let that percolate in the brain, the whole Dallas being geniuses thing. Now, Carey Price is where we end up. 918 save percentage, 558 games played, $10.5 million. And here's the big asterisk, all right? And we're going to hear a lot of this going into the season. Carey Price had a 900 save percentage, 3.11 goals against, abysmal numbers. Now he makes $10 million. So in order to make this entire argument work that goalies are overpaid and underpaid and teams don't know what they're doing, you take Carey Price and you truck him out there. Why? Because picking on Montreal is the easy thing to do right now. Now, Carey Price's career numbers at 918 are pretty good considering he had a 900 save percentage last year. And it's not that long ago his save percentage career was 920. Can he get back to 920 for his career? Absolutely. Will it be easy? No. Is he the man to do it? Sure he can. And this is where it's hard. You take a look year by year, and yes, over any given year, you could look at a Cam Talbot, 31 years of age, 918 save percentage, 253 games played, $4.16 million. This year, numbers, not great. Last year, pretty damn solid. You just kind of have to balance it out. Goaltenders, it's not just a matter of waiting longer for goalies to make the NHL. It's a matter of the results you get from them may be a little bit inconsistent from season to season. You have to balance it out. Freddie Anderson, 918 save percentage, 257 games played, $5 million. He's only 28 years of age. He's one of the youngest ones on this board. And I will say this. For Toronto, I've talked about their blue line. I have no issue with Freddie Anderson being the starter. I have no belief anywhere in my gut that Toronto needs to upgrade their goaltending. There's no doubt in my mind that their goaltending is just fine. I am well aware of what happened in the playoffs. I still believe in their goaltending. Jonathan Quick, 32 years of age, 917 save percentage, 556 games played, $5.8 million cap hit. Perfectly reasonable. Yes, his save percentage is lower than some of the other elite goaltenders, but you know what? In the playoffs, he's pretty darn good. Just ask Vegas from this past spring. It's pretty good in the playoffs. Devin Dubnyk, also 32, 917 save percentage, 423 games played, $4.33 million. He makes $1.8 million less than Dubnyk. That's than Quick, in part because he's played 130 less games in the regular season and because he doesn't have those 2 Stanley Cups. So again, the save percentage is pretty darn close to the same. Now there's percentages of differences between these ones. There's only one that I flipped. Other than that, they're all in order. And Dubnyk on a better team, I think, is absolutely capable of taking a team to a Stanley Cup. That's a question that was asked in a comment section on a video this past week while it was all Vegas crazy. Yes, Devin Dubnyk could absolutely win a Stanley Cup on the right team. Semyon Varlamov, 916 save percentage, 399 games played, $5.9 million contract. Now, Varlamov, you can pick. Varlamov, you can take a look and go, okay, his save percentage is lower than some of the other guys, and he's had some rough years. Well, he's had injuries. Varlamov is still capable of being, I would say, a top 15 goaltender in the NHL. Is he there right now? I don't know. I really honestly don't know, but he's capable of it. And 5.9 million, that's 100,000 more than Jonathan Quick. So it shows how much of a discount Jonathan Quick gets the Kings, more than it says anything about Varlamov for the Avalanche. Martin Jones, 916 save percentage, 224 games played. He's only 28 to Varlamov's 30 and Dubnyk and Quick's 32. So Jones is one of the younger guys on the chart, $5.75 million a year. That's pretty decent. He does have a Stanley Cup final run on his record. Can he get a Stanley Cup win as well as that? Sure. Again, he showed in the playoffs this year he's a pretty solid goaltender. Everybody just ran into this Marc-Andre Fleury kid. And then Jaro Halak's next on the board, who's 33, 916 save percentage as well. 449 games played, $2.75 million. Now remember, he's signed as a backup in Boston. That's why he's a bargain at $2.75 million. And at 33, it's viewed that he's on his way into backup status, and that's probably his ceiling right now. And I don't think he has anything to complain about at $2.75 million with all the money he's made previously, as long as he's held on to some of that money. Robin Lehner, 916 save percentage, 219 games played. He's only 26. This is why I'm kind of surprised Buffalo moved on from him. Honestly. $1.5 million. If Robin Lehner can get back up to that career average of 916 this season with the Islanders, it is a bargain. It is a huge bargain for the New York Islanders, and it will make Lou Lamoriello look like a genius. Lou is known for finding value goaltenders. He is known for being able to pluck valued young goaltenders and make them work. So I'm not betting against Lehner this year, even though this year looks like it could be a rough one for the Islanders franchise. And also Barry Trotz manages to get some pretty good numbers from his goaltenders too. So there's that to keep in mind if you're looking at a pool and whether or not to take Lehner. Ryan Miller's on the board. He has a 915 save percentage, 737 games played, $2 million. He's $2 million because he's a backup and he's 37 years of age, 11 years older than Robin Lehner. Miller, fantastic goaltender. And here's where the article that I'm quoting, and I'll leave in the description. Here's where it really lost me was Miller performed very, very high on charts, whether it was save percentage versus shots faced, basically the expected save percentage, his really good opportunities that he saved. It's like, wow, I'm surprised to see Miller so high on here. Nobody who watched Ryan Miller play last year would say that. And I'm not saying that as an insult to Travis Yost. I'm saying it because there were a lot of people who don't know how well Ryan Miller played last year. Yes, it was only over 28 games, but they weren't all his backup because John Gibson got hurt for a while there, and Miller really did very, very, very well. Jimmy Howard and James Reimer I flipped because Howard's got a lot more experience. He's 34, and I thought about cutting it off at 20 and leaving Reimer out. And then I realized, you know what? You can't leave Reimer out, even though that means the Florida Panthers have two goalies on this chart. Howard, 915 save percentage, 461 games played, $5.29 million. Now, almost any Red Wings fan will say that Howard's overpaid at this point. At 34 years of age, his best days are probably behind him. He's only played 461 games, which kind of surprised me, to be honest. But he did have to wait his turn. Part of the wonderment of being a Detroit Red Wing is you have to be a rookie later on in life, which also means you don't play as long. We've seen that with a number of these steals they find in the late rounds where they don't necessarily have a career as long as we might otherwise expect. James Reimer, who's already 30 years of age, 915 save percentage, 302 games played, $3.4 million. Very reasonable for a guy who can stand in and be the starter for when Roberto Luongo might be nursing an injury or two. And Luongo's very frequently nursing injuries at this stage of his career. And I'm not saying that as shade to Roberto at all. It's the reality of being 39. I'm older than 39. I know how it feels to have aches and pains regularly. So that's your top 21. Now, I want to get into a few others, and I know there's others that aren't on the board, but I'm just trying to make a point here. I don't want to get into every single goaltender. And this is as much madness as I want for right now. I got to ease my way back into madness. Marc-Andre Fleury, 913 save percentage in his career, 738 games played, $5.75 million contract. That is in line with Martin Jones, who he beat in the playoffs. That is in line with Jonathan Quick, who has a $5.8 million contract, who he beat in the playoffs. And it is actually below Connor Hellebuck's 6.16 that he just signed. And then he loses in the final to Braden Holtby, who makes $6.1 million. So there you go. All these goaltenders with really solid years, right around the same number. Huh. Mike Smith, 913 save percentage. He's 36, whereas Marc-Andre Fleury's 33. 529 games played in his career by Mike Smith. $5.67 million contract, or cap hit. The 529 games would be much higher if not for some struggles that Smith had. He was stuck behind other goaltenders in Dallas, went to Tampa as a much ballyhooed, going to be the savior kind of goaltender. Probably too much pressure too early, and he faltered there, didn't play as many games as he otherwise would have, and then he ends up in Arizona, and huzzah, Arizona is actually a city or a franchise that's able to resurrect careers. It's happened a few times. Antti Ranta right now is experiencing some of that Arizona wonderment. Breeze Golov comes to mind as a guy who was being waived by the Ducks, and Arizona picked him up, and he did really well. Sean Burke, I believe towards the end of his career, did very well as a Phoenix goaltender as well. So Arizona's kind of where you want to go if you're an older goaltender, not just an older person looking to retire. Hellebuck's only 25, 917 save percentage through 149 games. So less of a sample size, and yet it is big enough of a sample size that they give him $6.16 million. Look at the numbers on the board. That is very much in line. It is a little bit more than Crawford. It is less than Pekka Rinne, less than Tuukka, a little bit more than Corey Schneider. Andrei Vasilevsky, 917 career save percentage, 155 games played, $3.5 million. That's what you call a bargain. So a contract that at the time looked a little bit risky, only because Vasi hadn't played a whole lot in the NHL, it now looks like a huge bargain for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's part of the reason why they've been able to keep a team together and keep it under the cap. So there you go. I'm not sure. I saw the article's title with teams still don't know how to pay goaltenders, and I thought, well, maybe he's not actually saying that, but he is. So it's one of those weird topics that comes up at this time of year. And there are goalies on here who may be bargains. There are a few who may be a little bit overpaid. But in general, everything's kind of in line. And if people want to talk about Carey Price and say, well, you shouldn't pay $10 million for a goaltender, it's easy to say that after he's coming off of injury-riddled seasons. And we're remembering his fragility that he's shown over the last, 2 of the last 3 seasons. But the fact is that when he's on his game and he's healthy, he is likely the best goaltender in the league. So it is not a position that you can just use pure numbers. And even then, and I was thinking, you know what, there's probably some forwards as well who, if you just judge them based on their pay, you're likely just going to find a chart that's kind of all over the place. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Which goaltender do you think's overpaid, underpaid? And honestly, I look at this chart and I don't see teams not knowing how to pay their goaltenders. I think that it's actually pretty decent, but you can't judge it on one season. You just can't. You can't. Because every season is different. You kind of have to look at their body of work, look at the team they've got in front of them, and cross your fingers and pray. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do not forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.